Hello, homeschool colleagues. Welcome back to another video on biblical homeschooling. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my biblical homeschooling system. So if you're ready, let's get started. If you're watching this video, it means something in your heart resonated with the vision of raising children who walk with God, think biblically, and grow into confident, God-fearing, servant-hearted adults. I have to read that so slow and methodically because that's exactly what many homeschool parents want. First up, I'm going to present to you section 1 of the biblical homeschooling system, and that is called the backbone of the system, understanding biblical principles. Everything in my system begins with one foundational resource, and that is Understanding Biblical Principles. It's a free resource that you can download on my website. You can click the link below in the description also. This is where you will learn the why behind biblical homeschooling. You'll discover what a biblical principle is, how principles shape our thinking, and how God's truth becomes the lens for everything that you teach. This resource helps you reset your mindset. This is so important. It helps you understand the reason behind biblical education, and it helps you build a foundation for everything else in the system. It's your starting point. Understanding biblical principles is something that every parent has to adopt, buy into, own. It has to become a part of who you are and how you think, even if you don't know that that's what you're doing or that's what you want to do. So get my free resource called Understanding Biblical Principles, and you'll understand completely whether this is for you or it's something you're already doing. Part 2 of the biblical homeschooling system is the Biblical Principles Quick Start Workbook. So basically, you can purchase that, and it's only $7, but this is going to help you implement what you believe to be God's calling on your life to teach your children the biblical system of homeschooling. And this workbook, it'll show you how to practice biblical thinking. It guides you through core habits that bring scripture into everyday teaching. You will learn how to start your day with truth, how to apply principles to real situations, how to build the mental habits that shape worldview, and how to train your child's conscience and character. It's a low-cost, high-impact starter tool for immediate transformation, and that's what we're looking for. We don't just want transformation in our children. We ourselves want the transformation of biblical thinking. Then the third part of the biblical homeschooling system is for you to make a further investment into your own education, which will in turn affect the education of your children. And that is the Biblical Reasoning mini course. Once you understand biblical principles and start using them, you're ready to learn how to teach your children to think. And this is the most important part, because if you remember from the previous video, I talked about the 5 types of biblical thinking. So in this Biblical Reasoning mini course, you will learn how to use them in every subject, how to reason from truth, how to teach your child to reflect, how to guide independent thinking, how to help them think deeply and make connections, and how to build a mind that resists lies and stands strong for the truth. And this is so important. All of our children should know how to do that, because they might be living in a completely different world than the one we grew up in, where there was a lot of freedom. Freedom is being chipped away slowly, and the forces of this world are coming in on us. So we want our kids to understand truth, to resist lies, and stand strong in the truth. This is the complete transformation that we want in our children. We want them to be able to think. This is the number one key, if you remember from my previous video. The number one key is training our children how to think. So we'll be covering that in Biblical Reasoning mini course. Part 4 of the biblical homeschooling system, and this is essentially, again, to train you in the biblical homeschooling philosophy and methodology. So the fourth part is the Foundations of Biblical Homeschooling course. This is the full training that ties the whole system together. So Foundations of Biblical Homeschooling course will give you the complete method and best practices. And this is my favorite part because I don't just teach how to integrate the Bible into subjects, but I teach you how to actually teach them with a biblical mindset in the way that you teach and in what they're learning, what your students are learning. So it includes in this course biblical foundations, how to teach reading, called reading instruction, how to teach language, language instruction, math instruction, knowledge-based subjects, learning plans, and teaching strategies for each stage. This is so important. If I didn't have the training that I had before I started homeschooling, it would have been a lot more difficult for me and a lot more confusing. I was able to implement these biblical strategies. These were strategies that weren't going to change, and I knew I could rely on them. They were reliable, they're standard, they're absolute based on the Word of God, which is also absolute. And so that's why I knew it could work, but I had to learn how to use them. So that's what I'm going to be teaching you. And once you know how to implement this type of thinking in your homeschool, this is where the overwhelm disappears and the clarity begins. And this is the part I love about biblical homeschooling, because homeschooling doesn't have to be overwhelming for long, and it doesn't have to be confusing for long. There's so many ways that I can help you understand these principles so that it is not confusing or overwhelming. Now, after you go through these 4 parts of the biblical homeschooling system, then we're going to get deeper. This is where I will teach you everyday lessons for each subject and how to teach each subject from an academic perspective. And so we'll be turning our biblical mindset or our biblical thinking into skill, how to take all of this type of thinking and turn it into actual academic success. Each course in the subjects are based on biblical principles. Every lesson has a biblical principle. Every unit of study, we're doing this every day. This is how we build in biblical thinking from the start, all the time, every day, in every lesson, and shaping the type of thinking that our students will have in the future on automatic. You've heard of automatic or passive income. Well, this will be passive results of children who actually think biblically. So anyway, that's off track a little bit. I will be discussing the professional teaching methods. There will be clear and simple steps, and it includes reading. So my course is called Elementary Reading, and this is for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. It doesn't cover preschool or being a toddler. That's in the works, by the way. I just got inspired for biblical homeschooling with toddlers course. So that's in the works. I'm really excited about that because my granddaughter, she's a toddler, and I'm so happy to be helping my daughter, preparing her to homeschool. But anyway, my elementary reading course is for K through 2. My elementary writing course is for K through 2. But I also have other courses that are for upper elementary and middle school in writing. And I have them separate for the teaching strategies for teaching informative, another course for teaching narrative, and eventually, and I'll have another course for teaching opinion writing or expository writing. So then after the elementary reading 1, elementary writing 1, I am currently in the process of writing elementary math 1. So this will be kindergarten through second grade, all the different strategies and ways of thinking that you need to adapt and adopt and develop to give your child a solid foundation. If you don't get this right in the kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, your children will struggle hands down. You have no idea how many kids I have tutored or homeschooled or taught who don't know how to do basic math because I used to be a fifth grade teacher, and I also taught middle school math. before I started homeschooling. So I have seen kids, lots and lots, too many, in my opinion, kids who don't like math. They don't like it, they're not good at it. And I can track it down and trace back to the exact problem, and that's early elementary. They didn't actually get a good foundation of basic math. So that's a problem that I hope to be a part of solving. And may this not be true of your kids who get to fractions and decimals and percents and algebra and linear equations and are totally lost. Okay, well, we don't even need to do that. That doesn't have to be your story. So it is possible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's possible there is a way to help set your kids up for success in math. But it starts with kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So I've got my elementary math 1 course in the works. Then we have analytical spelling, which is for middle school and high school. Once you teach spelling in the reading and writing subjects in the early grades, then what do you do for spelling? Okay. I cannot tell you how many programs I have seen, books at Office Max or Barnes and Nobles, or even on the homeschooling websites. There's just worksheets after worksheets of copy work. Say it, see it, write it. Are you serious? This doesn't work. Analytical spelling is the way to go. You can teach a child from the beginning. This is the set of letters. This is the set of sounds. This is how they go together. It's a system. It's the way language works. And this is how you learn to spell. And if kids don't learn that in the early grades, they're going to not be able to spell correctly, and they really have to focus and own these skills. But this course, the analytical spelling for middle school and high school, if you thought it was necessary, which I have taught high school kids this analytical spelling, but basically it helps students think and understand how language works. And it's a beautiful thing once they get it. I was tutoring kids. I started them in like 7th and 8th grade. They could not spell for nothing. In 2 or 3 years, they are excellent spellers, and it's amazing. I really didn't think I could do it, but it worked. So that's why I developed this course, analytical spelling, that anyone could use. It doesn't even cost anything except for paper. You probably do need a journal for practicing spelling words, but other than that, it's pretty simple. So that's in development. Analytical grammar is already out. I did not create the course, but I would have if I could have, but I didn't know anything about grammar when I was homeschooling. And then I went to a homeschool conference. I learned about analytical grammar, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the grammar I've been dreaming of my whole well, slight exaggeration. Yeah, I will teach you how analytical grammar works, and you can buy it today if you wanted. You could learn about it on their website, but I'll have my little spin on it. And then we have other courses like literature courses, history courses, science courses coming up. And just a side note about the science course, if there's a science curriculum you love, and there really is a lot of good ones out there that teach biblical perspective on science, because that is so important. But I'll just be creating elementary level basic science courses that organize subjects in a way that are principally based. That's it. Okay. So I will have different subjects coming up with that, but the elementary reading and elementary writing course are your next step after you've gone through the 4 courses or resources that I have for fully embracing biblical homeschooling system. All right, so let me tell you about the support that we offer to you as a biblical homeschooler. We have learning plans. These are basically PDFs that outline all the subjects you should be teaching if you want. Of course, it's all optional. We're homeschoolers. They include all the books you would need to buy and how to schedule all of that in. So if you just wanted a full biblical homeschooling. Give me all the curriculum and all the resources. I'm just going to use it all. This is a good resource for you. I have the K2 learning plan, the 3 through 5 learning plan, the 6th through 8th grade learning plan, and the 9th through 12th grade or high school learning plan. So I'm still in the development stages of some of those. I have the preschool kindergarten learning plan ready, prepared, and ready for purchase, and the middle school learning plan. So I'm still in the development of upper elementary and high school, but those will be only just a handful of pages, basically listing out all the subjects, all the books that I would use that follow the biblical homeschooling system, and options. That would be options. All the resources or curriculum that is biblically based for middle school and upper elementary and so forth and so on. Yeah, so I hope that helps explain it. If not, you can always ask me questions in the chat or the comments. And by the way, if you like this video, please subscribe and follow me for more videos. Set the notification bell and comment. Don't forget to comment. We love interaction on this channel, so please give it to me. I'll take your hate, I'll take your love, I'll take your questions, your comments. Let me know how I can serve you. Okay, so we're talking about the support that I give in my biblical homeschooling system. Number 1, the learning plans. Number 2, planning workshops. We actually have a workshop coming up very soon, and it's going to be 6 weeks long in January and February. So if you want to join us, we are going to plan the entire year of homeschooling. And I'm going to show you how to set that up. So if you're interested in that, that's called the Biblical Homeschooling Circle in January and February. So there'll be more details about that. If you're watching this after the fact of 2026, of course, keep your eye out for more planning workshops. And then we have community support, encouragement, and connection with families who are building biblical homeschools just like you. This is just an idea at this point, but I hope to share with you some stories on this channel of how other people are thinking through their homeschool and how to integrate biblical principles, because my way isn't the only way of becoming a biblical homeschooler. The whole idea is that God is infiltrated and integrated in every subject, every lesson, every day. So those are the 3 ways that we support you. Of course, I am available on email and comments, and I try to keep up with those as much as I can. All right, so let's talk about some milestones that you might expect from learning the biblical homeschooling system. For the parent, let's start with you. Hopefully, you will be able to understand what biblical principles are and completely accept, adopt, and buy into it. You will know how to teach your child how to think, which is so important. And I really emphasize all the different ways you can teach your child to think in all the different circumstances. You will be able to teach any subject with confidence, depending on the subjects that you've been trained in. You will spend less money. I haven't even mentioned this, but this is going to be awesome because the way I teach you are methods. You will save hundreds of dollars knowing how the teaching methods work. Because if you know that, you'll know exactly what curriculum you're looking for. You will spend less money. You will not be guessing as much, like I said, and you will actually feel equipped and guided like, wow, I actually know what I'm doing. And if that interests you, this is the system that you're looking for then. Now for your child, they are going to learn to reason from truth and be able to talk about truth. They'll be able to think deeply and independently, have their own thoughts and opinions. They will write and speak with clarity because you know exactly how to teach writing, which in turn will help them speak more clearly. They will develop godly character. This is so important. You can't force a child to be a godly person, but you can train them to be a godly person in a way that they actually adopt. It's genuine. It's a genuine approach to developing godly character. It's real and it's actually effective. I did it on my own kids. So my kids follow the Lord, and I am so happy about that and thankful to God for the things that He has done in their life. But not finished yet. Your kids will love learning. Now, this doesn't mean that they love school, okay? Do not get this confused. They will love learning, not just school. To love learning means the child is thinking to themselves, oh, I want to learn about this. I'm going to be proactive to search it out. And they go out, and most times, especially if they're older, they don't even ask for help. They just go and teach themselves. Amazing. All right, and last but not least, they will stand strong in their faith. This is really what we want. We want children who can stand strong in their faith. They don't waver. They're not going to deconstruct their faith later on, because if you really know your child, which is another thing I haven't talked about, but really knowing your child, listening to them and how they think, then you can help shape that thinking toward biblical thinking. But you really have to be a student of your child, and you have to nurture the faith that's in there and help them through the difficult questions about faith. So these milestones are measurable, attainable, and life-changing. I'm telling you, I just love the fact that my kids walk with the Lord. They can think for themselves, they can learn on their own, and they're independent, successful adults, and it's a beautiful thing. So I want to conclude this video by telling you about the Biblical Homeschooling Playbook. So we got the Biblical Homeschooling System, then we're going to have the Biblical Homeschooling Playbook. And it's going to look like this. I hope you like my graphics. This is really a vision of a woman who is beautiful. That means she has purpose in life. She is going places. She's looking towards the future. She's not facing the camera like so many self-indulging cultures. She is going ahead and leaving behind the past, moving forward, and she's moving in confidence. And this is like my ideal biblical homeschool look, if you will. Not that you have to look perfect when you're a biblical homeschooler, but when you homeschool in a biblical way and you get the results of having children who follow the Lord and can think for themselves and are independent and love learning, that's you. So there's different stages of being that, but that was just a little picture of what I thought a biblical homeschooling mom would look like and what that picture conveys. So anyway, I also forgot to mention in the Biblical Homeschooling Circle that's going to happen in January and February, you will get the Biblical Homeschooling Planner, which I'm really excited about. But I will teach you how to do all that planning in the Biblical Homeschooling Circle. So again, pitch number 2. I hope you can join us for that. So anyway, the playbook is going to be how the system works. So an explanation of basically everything I explained. All the subjects included, how to build your daily thinking habits, how to teach your child to govern themselves, which is hands down the most important skill a child can learn. Because if they can't govern themselves, they can't actually think biblically, period. So I'm going to explain that. I'll probably have a video on that too. The playbook will also have how to help them love learning, how to weave biblical principles into daily life, and how to streamline your homeschool so that you never feel overwhelmed and you actually have time for the fun stuff. So now that you've seen the whole biblical homeschooling system, your next step is very simple. Look in the description for the link to see how you can get access to the entire system and start building the biblical homeschool you've always envisioned. Whether you start with the free resource or begin with the mini course or dive into the full foundations course, the entire system is designed to support you step by step. So if you want to transform your child's thinking and their character and their confidence in life, I would love to help. So click here or click somewhere here to learn more about the Biblical Homeschooling Circle coming up in January. Thanks for watching. Bye.